I'm Don Fry, President and CEO of the Greater Baltimore Committee. Welcome to GBC Insider, a program designed to hear from reporters, leaders in the private sector, and elected officials to gain insight on key issues in business and government. Today, GBC Insider is joined by Holden Willen, a reporter at the BBJ, to discuss the current state of legislative issues pending in the Maryland General Assembly. Holden, thanks for joining us. One of the issues that seems to be gathering a lot of attention as the session hits the home stretch is sports betting. What's the status of that bill, and is it likely to see action by the end of the session?
Yeah, thanks for having me, Don. So sports betting is moving forward. The Speaker Adrian Jones, had a bill, HB 940. It passed and is in the Senate. The Senate committee had a hearing last week, and the bill is moving forward. They're just working on some final work on how many licenses to do and who can actually get those licenses. There's a little bit of debate from some of the companies that want to ensure that there is more access for minority-owned and women-owned businesses. But the bill is definitely moving forward, and because Maryland's trying to match some of its neighbors who've already passed it.
Yeah. An issue that's always seems to get a lot of attention and discussion, but hasn't gone anywhere, but this year seems to be getting a little bit more juice to it, is legalization of recreational marijuana. What's the status of that legislation? I think Senator Feldman had that. And do you see that passing this year or in the next couple of years?
Well, it certainly looks like that bill is going to end up moving to next year. House Bill 32 by Jazz Lewis, and I think you're right, the Senator Feldman did the cross-file. That bill did not pass either chamber before crossover dates, so it has a very, very unlikely chance of moving forward. My understanding is that Delegate Lewis is looking at doing maybe some alteration to try and set the framework this year and set up for the actual passage of legalization next year.
Of course, the General Assembly meets every year. The only bill that they're required to pass during the 90-day session is a balanced budget. I know that has been moving through both sides of the General Assembly. What's the status of that, and when is the deadline for that to be passed?
As you said, both chambers have passed their versions. My understanding is that a conference committee is meeting this week and that they hope to have it, the differences hashed out. It's about a $50 billion budget at the end of the day, with some help from the federal stimulus packages that have been passed, as well as it includes the funding for the Relief Act that was passed, the state stimulus. So that bill is moving, and they have to have it passed before the end of the session, but they should have it probably done within the next week.
As you know, from a business community's perspective, there always seems to be an attack on tax credits, despite the fact that they make such a really small percentage of the state's budget. I know there's been considerable legislation introduced this year to change or alter tax credits. Give us an overview of exactly what's happening with respect to that legislation.
So at the end of last year's session, as you mentioned, there was some efforts to get rid of some tax credits that the bill last year didn't end up passing before the shortened session ended. This year, to try and compromise with the legislature a little bit, the Department of Commerce brought forth its own bills to make some changes to the biotech, cybersecurity, and research and development tax credits to make them work a little bit better. All three of those bills have passed their initial chamber and have crossed over, and they're on their way to passing for final, to go into effect by the end of this session.
In about 30 seconds, Holden, this has certainly been a session I've described as a session like no other. Legislators meeting virtually. Talk a little about how it's gone from your perspective as a reporter covering the Maryland General Assembly in this pandemic world.
It's definitely been a little bit different. Instead of running around the State House and going from the House building to the Senate building, you're kind of going from hearing to hearing on your computer, or I have one hearing on the TV sometimes with another one on my computer, and maybe I've pulled up some audio on my phone. So you're kind of multitasking, but in some ways I really like it because you get access to some hearings that maybe you didn't get to before, like the voting committee sessions are now all video instead of you had to kind of figure out where they were going to be.
Well, Holden, thank you for your insider insight regarding these legislative matters. The GBC looks forward to providing you with more information and interviews with key insiders in our community. Until the next edition of GBC Insider, be safe, stay healthy, get vaccinated, and remain positive.